What is identity? Identity is a narrative of social cohesiveness about the bonds of citizenship and loyalty and the basis for legitimation of the state. The Notenbaum case defined in international law, defined nationality as the legal bond having as its basis a social fact of attachment, a genuine connection of existence, interests, and sentiments together with reciprocal rights and duties. Now, Israel's claim to statehood rests on two claims directly related to the issue of identity. First, that Israel is the homeland of the Jews, and second, that the survival of Jews as a group, according to this reasoning, can only be secured within the protective structure of a state. Palestinians make similar claims in their aspirations for a state. The security of Palestinian identity can only be realized if Palestinians as a group control a state. This is a claim further strengthened by Israeli policies that violate Palestinian human rights. Both claims are accepted by some and rejected by others. In other words, in the language of constructionists, there is not yet adequate agreement on the social fact of two states. The right of Israel to exist as a state is contested by some Islamic leaders, and the right of Palestinians to form a state is contested by some Israeli leaders. The legitimation of both groups as a state, however, still rests on their claim of a connection between identity and statehood and the perception that their respective identities are threatened in such a way that they cannot be protected through any means other than statehood. The real interest at stake here, I argue, is security of identity precisely because people have experienced threats to their identity as threats to their physical existence, which have, of course, been reinforced by the experience of violence. People are killed and injured in Israel and Palestine purely on the basis of their identities. Both states must come to terms with the fact that they will have majorities and minorities, and it will be incumbent on both to make minorities feel secure in their identities. It's easier said than done. What I conclude in 2 minutes is that it is inevitable there will be a two-state solution. It's also inevitable that both states will have substantial minority populations. By current estimates, there could be a Palestinian Arab minority in Israel of 23.6% and a Jewish minority of about 17% in the West Bank area of Palestine. These identities will both be at risk because of their status as minorities. I argue that they would both feel insecure in the presence of security forces that involved members of either group, and that the tangible interim solution actually is not dialogue. Dialogue is not going to produce a solution. Reconciliation doesn't occur until security is provided. That has to be a priority. That ordinary people who don't feel their identities are threatened don't think about their identity. They do things people normally do. They pursue an education, fall in love, have a family, go to work, argue with their spouse, earn an income, participate in the collective expressions of culture and community. They worship. If they're religious, they speak freely, associate with others, and so on. At the present time, that's not possible in the highly contested, insecure areas that cannot be agreed upon, where the borders can't be agreed upon. So I argue basically for a multinational security zone in those areas without negotiating a final solution until there's a normalization of security in those areas. Where there are borders that can be agreed upon, borders can be agreed upon, but in the contested areas, I think there has to be a multinational force to provide security that does not include participants of the military from either side, with an interim period, say 5 years, where people can then sit down and talk about reconciliation, dialogue, and resolution of the identity issues.